behavior, attitude that you're thinking about, right? So let's think about doing an introduction for juvenile delinquency. Giving you 5-10 minutes, right? Whatever you think that you can introduce the topic. Introduce the topic, okay. So introduction of any essay, a good introduction is always general. Okay? Intro is always general, always the bigger picture. And it's, I would call it the class 1 from the topic. So it's one step higher than the topic. So we're talking about juvenile delinquency. What is the larger topic? You have to tell me, I'm not going to give you answers. You can either crime. You can talk about crime. And then you scope it down to juveniles as the group who are committing the crime. Okay? So your introduction is always one step higher. Don't talk about juvenile delinquency already in your introduction. So then what's your body? Right? So if you talk about the introduction, so it's like I said, I need a very nice sandwich, right, from Subway or O'Brien's or a burger. So it's just the bread. I don't want information yet. It's all about organization. Okay? So then it's going to be your slab of meat or your tomatoes or your lettuce or your cheese, whatever. That is the body. That's the delicious part. Okay? And then your conclusion is essentially again the bread that holds it together. But it's step 1. Then the last sentence of your introduction. So your introduction and it's about 6 to 8 sentences. Don't make it longer than that. Okay, 6 to 8 sentences. And that last sentence is what we call a thesis statement. So it's either sentence 6 or 7 or 8 is what we call a thesis statement. A thesis statement is what narrows the general topic to the question topic. Okay? The last sentence. So you scope it to your question. Okay? You scope it down to your question. Even if you're doing the general paper, the introduction is always a bigger idea. Not too big, don't go too wide, yeah? So for example, if you're talking about, let's say, the abuse of drugs in sports, Lance Armstrong is such a good example that comes to your mind, or bodybuilders, boxers, yeah, the abuse of drugs in sports. So what is your general? Sports or drugs. You can either go sports or drugs, and then drugs in sports, or sports and the problems that are arising in sports, and one of it is drugs. Okay? Alright, so juvenile delinquency is your topic, and you know your introduction has to be about crime. Put down some ideas about crime. So what can you talk about? Crime. Crime is everywhere. It's prevalent in society. Okay? Different types of crimes. What type of crimes do you have? The two major. Now it's time for you to think about all your drama and action movies that you've watched in your life, the drama series, your CSI, your NCSI, your whatever movies that you've watched, detective movies. What sort of crimes are there? Yeah? Crimes that involve drugs, If you can think of words like narcotics, very good. Okay, if you can think of words that involve crime, for example, petty crime is good. If you can think of words like what else? Murder, for example. So try and write something about crime. And this sort of topics are very common because crime is so much a part of our society today. Okay? You can write at the back of, just write me 6 or 7 sentences. See, I'm serious, huh? I'm not playing a fool. It's very hands-on and there's no workshop for me just talking if you don't write. In our world today, or crime is prevalent in society, or every time you flip open a newspaper or turn on the TV to listen to the news, don't repeat again and again and again juvenile delinquency, underage crime. Do you understand? Yeah? Crime committed by minors. Those are you remember watching all those movies, right? And all those series. Why do they call them minors? Why do they call them underage? See? Because the topic is about that. The choice of vocabulary, those type of words are important. Don't repeat every sentence another reason for juvenile delinquency. The second reason for juvenile delinquency. You got it? Use more words than that. No? But okay, no, your starting is okay. No problem.
Everything is really bad.
Oh, I have seen all sorts of writing. So far, I still haven't got you. You are starting too general, and it's already 4 sentences. So be careful. You come down to your topic.
Okay.
I want to see. Can I take a look at what you have so far? You have to start. You have to read a lot more, Kenny. Yeah. Start reading because it will help you. Even if you're reading just normal news or even blogs, right? A good way that I encourage you is, I'm sure all of you have a Facebook account. Start posting up this as your post. What do you think about juvenile delinquency? Hey, I have to do this stupid essay, right, on juvenile delinquency. Do you have any ideas? See what people respond. In a way, they might help you. They might make you think of points that you never thought about. Make use, okay, of social networking sites, and not just for your, to talk about what you had for lunch. There, picture of my lunch today. No, I can't, sorry. general, you can scope in Malaysia. Because it's not the whole world actually. Even though we try to think of it, it's not the whole world. Comment. So for example, juvenile delinquency is on the rise, or it's becoming a more serious issue in many societies across the world, or it's more rampant nowadays, and immediate measures must be taken to address it. Okay? So give me 2 or 3 major juvenile delinquency problems that you see or that you are aware of in your society or the world at large.
Bullying.
Would you put that as your number 1 point?
I don't know.
I would put it as my number 3 point.
What's that?
Bullying.
Bullying.
Yeah. Unless, of course, the bullying goes into where it causes serious harm, because in most countries, psychological harm, emotional harm is still not. Like, who cares if you're psychologically, emotionally scarred? Because it's difficult to prove, it's still not taken as something serious, unless of course it becomes physical, right? And then that would probably be a little bit more serious for me. But a lot of bullying is psychological and emotional, yeah? So I would put that in my, I wouldn't disregard it, but it wouldn't be my number 1 juvenile delinquency problem. Anyone? Vandalism, okay? Which is actually, okay, vandalism. But anything else that you feel passionate about?
Robbery.
Robbery? What type of robbery?
Snatching.
Snatch theft is not robbery.
Shoplifting.
Shoplifting. You see, when you look at your friends' answers, you can realize that different crimes, different types of crimes are more prevalent in different societies. Okay? So what you think is happening all around the world is actually not so global. So be careful with your examples and be careful to scope yourself in Malaysia, for example, in my part of the world, okay? In my society, or, okay? So snatch theft, vandalism. Third? Ooh, drinking. Alcoholism. It's not a crime, is it?
No.
Buying alcohol is a crime because you're underage. Drinking itself, it's a very difficult thing to distinguish. You know what I mean? Unless they catch you in the act of drinking, because you're underage, you are committing a crime. But every time you buy, it's a crime because you're underage. Is drugs not a problem in the societies you live among juveniles? Oh my gosh, is it not a crime? Drugs? Yeah? I would put that as my number 1. In which society around the world is drugs not a problem among teenagers? And remember, underage, if you're talking about your country legal age being 18, 19, 20, 21, this is when they start. Okay? Okay, I'll put that as the last one, drugs. Okay, so snatch theft, shoplifting. So you're looking at the problems and the solution. Now when you're talking about the problems, you're also talking about the causes for the problem. Very briefly, not too much in depth. So what are the causes for snatch theft or shoplifting? You should know this, it's very easy.
Low social cultural background, socio-economic status.
Social economic status, alright. Low SES. That's social economic status. Okay. What else?
Psychological guidance.
Parental guidance.
Lack of parental guidance. What else?
Being a kleptomaniac. Being a kleptomaniac.
Being
Kleptomaniac.
kleptomaniac. Okay, then you can use what's the name? Lindsay Lohan is your choice. Or there was somebody else as
Peer
well.
pressure.
Yes, I was waiting for that. Okay? It's mostly the desire to have what you don't have. It's a lot of peer pressure, and it's also because the bigger word. Materialism. It's a materialistic society that judges you with your iPhone 5. Even iPhone 4S is not good enough because it's iPhone 5 now. It's Samsung 3, not 2. It's the society. So then you're pressured into. And especially if you're a teenager, it's pressure from your peers. So, which also leads back to social economic status, right? So I was waiting for that word. Alright, vandalism. What are the causes of vandalism?
You want recognition.
Recognition, desire for recognition. What else? Frustration. A way of venting out frustration.
They use it as a how to cope up with the anger.
Frustration and anger venting. Anger coping or anger management, which is not management, it's just coping. Another reason for vandalism? That makes it sound very good. That doesn't make it sound like a crime. Does it?
Yeah.
It makes it sound beautiful and positive. So then how are you going to say that it's a problem? Why? Why do they vandalize in order to get recognition? Why?
Rejected.
Lack of attention,
Attention deficit hyperactivities or
ADHD and all that. That's good, that's good. But there is no venue for you to showcase your talent. There's no place for you to, because arts is not recognized in our society today. Okay? Go use a computer, not go paint a picture. Paint a picture, but only as a hobby. Only for that 1 hour, not to make a living. So the reason for vandalism is more like, yeah, all of these as well, but also because there is no proper venue to channel your artistic talent, for example. So you turn to vandalism. But that's also, okay, so proper channels, lack of recognition, can I say? Lack of recognition for artistic talents. So of course that vandalism, you're only talking about spray painting and graffiti. There are other forms of vandalism also. So you're being very specific about what type of vandalism you're talking about here. Okay? Drugs. What causes a teenager to take drugs?
peers.
Peers. Ooh. Okay. What else?
Curiosity.
Ah, yes. Curiosity killed the cat.
They want to just for a tryout.
Experimenting, you're curious, you experiment. Why do boys smoke? I'm very, very stereotypical. But why do boys smoke?
Yeah, for the because boys are right.
Because the boys are boys, so you have to smoke.
ERB, yeah.
Yeah.
Release of tension or pressure.
Pressure, tension. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but usually if they come from a normal family background, and normal has so many levels of normalcy, but usually kids don't tend to go into drugs. Smoking, yes, but don't tend to go into drugs. So it's one of the points in that. Usually it leads from friends. But if you have very good communication with your parents, it really doesn't become a problem even if your friend says. It's usually because of something is missing at the home. Right? And so you get it through your friends only. So it's usually not so much attention, it's usually because of
Esteem.
esteem, yeah. You're a drug addict, it's so high on the class. So I would put it under parental background or breakup of families. Because drugs is actually quite a serious thing. You might be pressured into taking a joint once or twice, but to continue, usually there's a lot of issues that's going on in your life for you to continue at that stage of your life, right? So, because you want to make sure that your points and your explanation are different, not the same explanation for different points. So if you're going to say peer pressure here and peer pressure here and peer pressure there, then what's different? Okay? Snatch theft because peer pressure, you want to join a group. Vandalism because peer pressure. Drugs because of peer pressure. Then there's no difference. So think a little bit more in depth. I know it's not you, but that's why watching movies is so great. Think about all those people who take drugs. Oh, that must be that because his parents were going through a tough divorce. Yeah, I remember. Media influence. Smoking maybe. Drugs not so. How many people showcase I'm taking drugs, I'm cool? Smoking, yes. Yeah, a lot of movies. Smoking, yes, it's a cool thing to smoke. Yeah, that one, yes. But media usually tries to always portray drugs as bad. I've never seen media portraying drugs as good. And yeah, no, you get caught. You become rich, but then you're a drug lord rich. You're still a gangster drug lord rich. So it's not always positive in that sense. Okay, solutions. Catch that. Solutions. Lock them up and throw away the key. So there were some answers here. So which one would you choose for remand school? Which one would you say community service is okay? Maybe counseling? Which one you think is a bit lower in the seriousness and then you want to say counseling? Vandalism could be snatch theft. Oh, have you not seen the seriousness of snatch thefts in KL? It's really bad in Malaysia, I think. Vandalism, maybe counseling. Where?
There are some rehabilitation.
So who can take charge of this? Who are, yeah.
Parents.
See, I want you to realize when you're talking about solution that it involves every member or level of society and not just say parents are the, because sometimes parents cause this. It's a fact, okay? Parents can be selfish. I'm not saying your parents are good for you, your parents aren't. But parents can be selfish. Not everybody makes a good parent, unfortunately. Right? So parents can cause this. So parents cannot always be the solution when they are the cause. Right? So counseling, schools, even though Malaysian schools are horrible, but it doesn't mean all schools in the world, right, are bad at it. So schools is a place to start because obviously these kids are still in school. Or does the government or NGO bodies, who else plays the way? Religious bodies?
Yes.
Religion? You need to have more than one answer. So you need to start thinking all those people in society. So religious bodies, for example. Okay?
conversation.
Counseling for drugs, I think. Probably at rehabilitation centers, because you have to be really a good certified person to counsel someone with drugs. So good at lying. Snatch that, throw away the key. Lock them up and throw away the key. What would you want to do for snatch theft? Those who commit snatch theft. Community service?
Juvenile detention.
Where would you put community service? Vandalism. Go scrape off the paint. You painted it, scrape it off now. Right? So you can say community service is a way for that. Right? Snatch that. So what would you do? How would you if you were the king or queen or president or prime minister of your country and snatch theft was a problem, how would you find a solution? Or God forbid someone you know in your family or friend's son or daughter is involved, what would your advice be? Or your friend is involved, what would your advice be? How would you help this person stay away or make a U-turn and come back?
Make a law. Pass a law.
Pass a law for them to be sent to jail. Fined. Fine for the same amount.
A certain amount.
Fine for a certain amount.
Or maybe 3 months in rehab center.
3 months. Okay, a short sentencing in a rehabilitation center. What else? It's your point, you know. I'm just helping you to think about it. Do you realize how you need to think? I'm going through the process. This is just one question, and there's so many questions. Some questions are not as easy as this. It really requires you to think. So, and you read about this. So, if somebody snatched your bag and the person is only 2 years old and you know they can't be sent to jail, how will you make sure this person doesn't do it again? That's exactly it. So, what would you do? How do you want to help this person? I'm using the word help because it is help because they're still underage, they're still a child, even though what they're doing is bad.
I will give you more bags.
Buy you more bags. Come on, stop stealing. I'll give you more bags. It's not the bag that they want, it's what in the bag. Well, sometimes it's the bag itself.
It's because I'm very bad.
It's Prada, it's Gucci, I want that.
Because I'm very, very rich, I give you all my
bags.
bags.
That's not good.
Just kidding.
Candy? How would you help them?
Observation like a few months, I don't know, probation or something.
Rehabilitation is the best way. Right?
Rehabilitation, right? So rehabilitation centers, where they receive counseling, maybe watch videos about how bad their act, how it hurts the person in the future.
Counseling, I think, is not very good for them at that time because they already give because actually when a child do it, they have still many alternatives way to do it again.
So rehabilitate, alright? And so maybe however the type of rehabilitation happens. So if you're going to use rehabilitation there, try and maybe use that as hospitalization in remand schools or remand schools here and rehabilitation there. Make sure your solutions are not always the same. Make sure the causes are not the same. Okay? That's why when you're planning, you have to plan it well so you're not repeating your ideas. Realize why I said planning is important. Because then if you're, put on this, and then, the solution. Rehabilitate. Wish only one solution for everything then. You're not thinking well enough. Okay? What about NGOs giving these people a chance? Would you ever put a shoplifter working in your shop? What's that called? The ankle band, so that you always tracked wherever you go. Beep, 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 beep. Right? So that's one of the things that you can think of. So try and think of where is the government's responsibility? Where does governments come? Where do governments come in? Where do parents come in? Do parents also have to go for counseling? Here?
Yes.
Because it's not only the child, it's also the parent needs to know how to deal with the child. Right? So you have to look at also parent counseling so that they know and not, kick them out of the house. So NGOs, maybe they can play a part here. Give talks in schools, prevention and not just cure. Come to schools, have talks about don't go into this type of modes, spend your time more healthier, engaging in sports activities, even if you're not paying too much focus on your studies. It's at least not as bad as stealing somebody's handbag. Right? So giving them, and I don't know, you can probably talk about not just cures, you can also talk about preventive measures. Yeah? A lot of these kids are also sometimes with a lot of time on their hand and not enough purpose in life. I don't know what the hell I want to do with my life, so maybe I'll do this with my friends. So that can also be, when parents give too much freedom to children, that also causes them to not have, to have a lack of direction in life, a lack of goal in life. And not a lot of these kids are always from low social economic status. Some of them are rich, but they do it for the thrill and the fun of it and can get away with it how many times possible. So that too plays a part. It's daring someone to steal from LV. I dare you, steal an LV purse. So then you do it, then you have the feeling of, yes, I did it. Yeah? Yes. Is this okay? So remember, it's not here anymore. Remember point, explain, and example. So when you're giving examples, it could be your neighbor. Could be your best friend in school. I don't know who that neighbor is. I don't know who that best friend in school was. But, do you understand? Yeah. Could be this is a problem in your part of your city. Okay? But don't make blanket statements like this is very common in all over the world, because it's not common in all over the world. As much as media tries to show it, it's not. Right? Drugs is a problem in the US, yes, but not all parts of the US. If you say New York, fine. Don't say it's a big problem in Oklahoma, because it's not. So you have to be careful when you're giving examples of places. Okay? Is this a problem in Japan? No. Not at all, none of this. Maybe drugs a little bit, but this one and this one, they die before they rob or vandalize, because they believe in keeping their country beautiful and safe. Maybe drugs, they're only killing themselves, but not another person. So it's not the whole world. So make sure your examples are for whatever place you're talking about. Right?
Question one. So in IELTS writing, we always have to follow the pattern.
Yeah, it's very boring.
Okay, so we cannot do the free writing.
Because you're giving plan, yeah, point, explain, example. Always remember to P. That's what I tell my students, right? Always, it's very boring. Formal writing is very boring and standard. It's like, I don't know if you read bank policies, 1.1, 1.2, or a business contract, it's so dry. How to make it interesting is the vocabulary that you use. Okay? But all this is just like that. Step by step by step by step by step. Introduce the point, explain it, try to give an example. Introduce the point, explain it, try to give an example. Right? So go through your notes. If there are any other questions about the speaking or the writing part, ask me tomorrow. And then the reading and the listening is also being done tomorrow. So we'll do a sample listening in the class, and then you have a very good idea of how difficult the listening is. watching a romantic movie and it's all easy. It's not. It's very technical sometimes. It's about, for example, somebody's hobby is bird watching, and he's talking about bird watching, different type of birds. How interested are you? But you need to be interested, because you have to answer questions about it. So you got to realize that. Yeah? Okay, so we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good evening. Take care. Drive safe. Oh, and tomorrow, because it's Taipusam and everything, try and get here on time. I'll try to get here on time as well. Because the roads will be really bad.